Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. We told you years ago that your climate change was cyclical. We told you that warming precedes cooling, and you heard the science. We told you why. We told you you didn't create it, and now you've heard the science. I'll tell you, the science is always going to back up that which has been created by the Creator. The cycles have been created for a reason. And the reasoning behind the cyclical energies of this planet, of your life, of the biology, of the economics, is all there for a reason. So you'll feel comfortable with it because here it comes again and you can do with it what you wish. It's not a shock. It's not a surprise. And we've told you that. But here you sit in an energy that you'd never experienced before, ever. The civilization that you call Earth is poised on the brink of choice. But it isn't one that is happening instantly. It has already started. To some of you, it is 50 years old. Dispensations of energy shift and change and cycles occupy decades of time. They are not a flash in the pan, as you say. And so many of you have been involved in that which we would call spirituality, awakening to that which is your own abilities. God is inside. You are God. We have told you that from the beginning. Isn't it beautiful to know that you do not have some entity in the sky that is going to judge you? That instead is part of the love scenario that you have set up and created for yourself. It's benevolent and will continue to be. But there's something up. You see, as the energy starts to shift on the planet that lets you become more aware of these things which have been taught this weekend, communications from the other side of the veil, whatever you think that is, and you, starts to shift in its methodology. This morning we gave the example of parenting an 8-year-old as opposed to a 19-year-old. And this was done so you would see that as your consciousness shifts, human being, so does that which is the messages from the creative source and the way it works. And it starts to look different and feel different and be more advanced. That's frightening to some. Some time ago, we gave you some advice about communications with Spirit. And what we told you is that Spirit and you communicate at a different paradigm than humans and you. And we told you this, that timing is not the same. To get used to the fact that the actual paradigm of communication that you are used to in parenting and hierarchy is not the way we work. There is no time. Time is yours, not ours. You created it. Our time is in a circle. If you want a hint of this, you take a look at the quantum energies and what is being discovered about time. And you will see that a three-dimensional outlook is very rigid and boxed and segmented and patterned, and you must have time. But as soon as you get out of 3 dimensions, you don't go to 4, you don't go to 5, or even 6 or 7. You go to all. It becomes multidimensional, not numbered as 6 or 7. And if you did number them, you'd be linear. You'd still be in 3. And it's confusing. And that's where you're going. So some of you get messages from Spirit that says you don't belong here, you belong in another city, move there. And things will happen. You jump up, you sell everything and move there and nothing happens. And we've said this to you many, many times, and my partner teaches this, and the phrase is, who told you to do it now? And that was just one tiny change of a paradigm of communication between the other side of the veil and what you're used to here. Spirit will reveal things that are potentials for you long before they actuate in your 3D. You don't manifest them right away. But it's guidance for you to feel and be wise and move when you feel it's correct to move. Now that is free will with a little push. It wouldn't be free will, would it, if Spirit said, get up and move? It wouldn't. And so when you get these messages, be circumspect and understand that you are being given a beautiful, beautiful message, that there's more for you in another place. And then understand to look around and feel and use that which is your intuitive power and the tools that you're being developed to know when to go there. And we've said that before, but there's more, dear ones. There's a lot more. You may have a dream. You may have a feeling, a very, very powerful feeling. And in this, you're shown something. And the neurons start connecting and you start understanding there's more to life than I thought. Look, I'm having visions, I'm having dreams. These things are being shown to me. Isn't God great? Look, I've got a message here. It's a wonderful message. And then suddenly it stops. And what does a human do? They usually go into a dark room and say, dear God, what did I do wrong? It stopped. Did you ever think that perhaps there's been a connection and you don't need those anymore because now they're intuitive? And you're going to walk around the planet having the knowledge that used to have to come from a primer vision. What about that? You graduate. So for those of you who wondered if you lost it, what if you graduated instead? You see, it's not what you think. Some of the things that brought you here, that you loved, and the feelings that you had, have moved past that. And now you're walking differently. It's inside you. You know the truth. You don't need those simplistic things anymore to take you to a place of euphoria that you didn't expect. Instead, you're asked to generate them on your own. To sit in a place and create the peace. The same feeling you had in the vision. The same feeling you had in the dream, being taken care of, being loved. Maybe seeing a face. You can do this yourself. You're on your own because you are a piece of the creative source that is graduating. Could I make it any clearer? That's just one thing. There are other things we've never spoken of. You make an assumption things are linear and singular. We have spoken about being an awakened soul. You understand that there's more than what you've been told. You start making the connection that the spiritual core of everything is yours. You are a piece of this. And you become alert and awake, much to the chagrin of your neighbors and your friends and the people you live with. You change. But you make an assumption. The weekend that you have just passed through contained profound teaching about cycles. And if you paid attention, you saw that the cycles were unique to the paradigm of what you were looking at. You had an earth cycle, you have a spiritual cycle, you have a weather cycle, you have a personal cycle. And yet, somehow, some way, there's the idea that if you awaken, everything is going to come together at once. It isn't. Let me tell you, there are waves of graduation and cycles. And because you didn't get them all at once again, you go into a dark room when nobody is looking and say, what did I do wrong? Dear Spirit, I've done everything. I know you're there. I can feel you there. I can feel the love. I'm awake. So why is this happening in my body? Why can't I shake this habit? Why can't I get the job I want? You said I could. I'm awake. Look, I believe in you. How much patience do you have to understand that all things happen as they should in the cycles that are designed for you at the right time, at the right place? And if you had them too soon or too late, they wouldn't work. They wouldn't work. Did you know that you're actually in control? And that the more you understand about these things that happen in waves and cycles and the timing of them in your situation, the more you can relax and say, thank you, it's here. Do you know it's coming? And it's going to come appropriately. And when the time is right, it's going to come completely. And you say, well, I've tried and it doesn't work. Maybe there's a timing connected with it. Have you looked at this? Have you listened today? Have you looked at the cycles of your life and the times where it's more appropriate to change, where it's easier to change? Do you understand why there's energy in astrology, in numerology? Because these things around you are part of you. The magnetic grid is part of your consciousness. It reacts to your consciousness. That makes it part of the heliosphere of the sun, which also reacts. That means that the solar system is connected to you. No wonder astrology works. Have you thought about it? Are there cycles for you to look at? Have you really looked into these kinds of things to know when there might be an appropriate time that is better for you to heal? Some of you have been trying to get ahead for so long and get out of the cycle, you say, where you're not abundant. And you worry about it. And it's part of the fear scenario. And what makes it worse is the fact that you haven't understood that it comes in waves. Not everything comes together. And one of the things that you have to do is an awakening first. And that then creates a maturity. The maturity then creates a connection ability for you to actually believe things are happening and see them in your future. One thing leads to another and you graduate, and then it begins. And you find yourself at the right time, at the right place, crawling out of those habits that you had or the abundance issues that you had. Let me give you a hint and a secret. You're blocking the creation of what you're asking for. You're blocking the creation of it. The timing may have come and gone. Oh, there'll be another cycle. You're going to tap your toe through that cycle as well? Or you're going to see it as accomplished in your mind in the future and celebrate being abundant, being healthy. You are a creator of reality. But you can't do it with 3D paradigms. You can't do it like you were raised. You can't do it with discipline and punishment and all the things that you think that are God. It doesn't work that way. As you awaken and discover compassion and love for yourself, you can then generate it for others. That's why people then would be attracted to you. This is how you change the planet.